4, 5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me...
Pew, 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 pew.
Hello and howdy to everybody.
This is
Mardi Gras Monday.
Mardi Gras Monday.
Literally.
That literally has a name, though.
It's literally Mardi Gras Monday
It's,
because tomorrow is Fat Tuesday and Wednesday is Ash Wednesday.
I think it's called Looney or something.
You're loony, Fletcher. You're talking about yourself. Howdy, Vice Sergeant Selby.
Hi.
Hail, fellow royal person. Love you back.
Oh. Oh, it's called Lundi Gras.
Lundi Gras.
So it's Fat Monday, Shrewd
Fat
Monday. Lundi Gras is it's the official thing. You know what I mean?
It's Mardi Gras Monday. Let's keep it simple. It's Howdy, Viceroy Selby, who's talking about this tomorrow. We love you back.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And we're excited to hear about yours as well.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully we'll be on tomorrow to talk about Shrove Tuesday / Mardi Gras, the day before the Great Fast, as it's called in the Christian Church, which starts Lent, the 40 days approximately before Easter, the time of the resurrection that we celebrate. We'll talk about it. But here we are. Oh, look, we have another buddy, Sashi.
Hey, what's up, Sashi? How you doing?
Yeah. Noble Sashi.
Noble Sashi in the house.
Noble Sashi.
Yeah. So this is
This has been a really I don't even know where to start. You guys, we had to come on and talk to you because we normally go live on Thursdays, but honestly, this could not wait. We saw this live, this whole shenanigans that happened at the White House with President Zelensky of Ukraine. And we're not going to say it the way the liberals say it. Slovenia, Ukrainia, whatever they say. Whatever Meryl Streep said at the Oscars, or whoever it was. They're all interchangeable to me.
They're all interchangeable? Yeah, that wasn't her, I think.
It was someone else this time, but it really matters. And we're going to just call him Zelensky or Z. And he was at the White House. Was it last Friday, Fletcher, I guess now? Yeah, it had to be Friday. Yeah. And we were just stunned, like a lot of you, mouth open, mouth agape, chin to the floor as to what we saw with President Trump, Vice President Vance, and this guy, President Zelensky. We'll try to be respectful. I don't know if he merits it fully, but basically having a very fiery conversation. I'm sure you've all seen it by now. If you have not, you need to go check that out. But we wanted to talk about it a little bit because it's very interesting. First of all, let's say this. Aren't we really interested in how transparent this administration is, Fletcher? Isn't there something cool about that, to see that?
No, completely, because it does feel like a lot of this stuff was done behind closed door, and then we just get kind of like the reveal. Right, like in the magic trick and all this kind of stuff. But here we are seeing like, how did you put the magic trick together? And some people thought it was a setup, right? So they thinking, this is something that Trump did just to throw Zelensky off balance. But there was meetings behind this, and my understanding from listening to Secretary Rubio, who put basically the deal together, this was kind of like a shock because it just kind of started going downhill from the attitude that Mr. Zelensky had. And there was a lot of stuff that kind of like took place before that. So I think that's what we're going to kind of chat
about. And just, let's talk about, what the behind the scenes stuff that we have now learned since Friday. I guess the first thing we should say, though, before we go into that, Fletcher, is this. Definitely we see the divide in America with how people look at that event. Yes. I think the first thing that we can all agree is that most of us thought that was unique. There's people like my dad and others who've said things like, in my entire life, 60 plus years, I have never seen anything like that. A lot of people said that they've never seen the actual, sausage being made of diplomacy, of,
Right.
foreign leaders and the United States president, engaging in some kind of negotiation or conversation that's behind closed doors. Usually they come together and just sort of present, like you say, the end of the magic act. So we got to see behind the scenes, and that was really, really cool. That we can all agree with, that is unique. The thing is, the left saw this as somehow, what I've heard, Fletcher, is, oh, President Trump bullied Zelensky.
Yes.
I've heard President Trump acted like a fool and blew up the deal that Zelensky came in, supposedly coming in to sign a rare earth or minerals deal in exchange for the United States, getting money in exchange for not complete security, but the idea that we would now have interests in the region, and that would provide some kind of protection of a sort to Ukraine. But Zelensky wanted more than that. Those on the left say that Zelensky is, a noble person fighting for his country, and and was treated horribly. On the right, a lot of people like us
Right.
on the middle and the right thought that Zelensky was out of line, that he came in there with the wrong attitude, in that he seemed to be a little bit too informal for the event, starting from the idea of what he's wearing. And that might sound petty and frivolous, but it really isn't. There are political dress codes, and fashion speaks, and it says words, and you're kind of saying, I mean, some say, oh, well, he's coming from the front lines. Then that seems like kind of theater, because I don't think this guy's anywhere near the front lines or, part of the whole thing. But also in terms of his other attitude, kind of flippant. He called Vice President JD Vance JD, talked over President Trump and
But he
Vice
called him a
President,
slur also.
and called him a really bad name in Russian, which many people caught on the hot mic that Zelensky said about Vance, and other things, including, basically challenging people, who are trying to help him, right? Who've been giving money to his country, and, kind of very sarcastically saying, what kind of diplomacy, JD? What kind of diplomacy? And had the nerve to then threaten, it seems to me, our country, saying, you feel safe now because you have an ocean, but you wait, you won't feel safe. And that's what I think triggered our president. Because hi, Lady Jen, by the way, welcome.
Hey, Lady Jen.
Thank you so much for coming and visiting us. So I think that on the right, our take was very different than the left. We thought that President Trump's fiery attitude back, his smackdown, was justified, that it wasn't foolish, that he didn't blow anything up, that the only bad actor was Zelensky, and then he eventually got kicked out of the White House. My understanding is he didn't even get lunch. He was supposed to get lunch, and he was thrown out, literally, well, not literally, like on his butt, but made to leave quickly. The car was called, and he was asked to leave and don't come back until you're ready to talk peace. That's what President Trump, I think, put on social media, and others have reported that. So I guess staffers ate his lunch, and he went on his interview tour that he had, I guess, planned for afterwards anyway. So now we're learning that he actually may have come in bad faith, that you were bringing the story up a minute ago, Fletcher, and I think we're ready for it now. All right. Which is that Zelensky may not have come in good faith to think about and talk about signing the deal. According to Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, this was supposed to be a done deal, but Zelensky met with some Democrat leaders, some Democrat legislators, who basically egged him on to say, nah, don't take that deal. Like, as though they knew how to get Trump to manipulate him to give more of what he wanted. Is that your understanding, Fletcher?
Right. So the understanding that things are happening is basically to say that, I guess, He met with a few people, which these are the people that he met. Um, and there's our great Jackie Rosen, right, from Nevada.
And there's
Uh,
Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota.
right,
And honestly, she seemed so uncomfortable at the inauguration. And now we see that she's behind this kind of thing.
right. And I guess what they were saying, so this is Chris Murphy, I guess it's Connecticut, I guess, whatever. Just finished meeting with President Zelensky here in Washington, confirmed that Ukraine people will not support fake peace agreement where Putin gets everything he wants and there's no security arrangements for Ukraine. So they already had met, um, talking about basically don't take the. In other words, it's almost like they were gonna come like some kind of shakedown, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that I don't know if Zelensky was ever in good faith about making a deal for peace. I don't know that he's looking for peace. I think that he likes being in charge. He likes doing what he's doing. He makes money, it seems to me, and gets to be in charge without having elections. But I think this actually looks really bad. I think it looks really bad because the president has the sole authority, in my understanding, to make deals with foreign governments and foreign dignitaries. And then you have these other people who are not on board with him, basically subverting his objective. I mean, President Trump has said, I want peace. I want this to be over, but I also want the United States to get something out of it if we're trying to help, which makes sense because everybody else is giving money to Ukraine. My understanding is they got loans that they'll get paid back
Yeah.
if there's anyone to, if there's anything left to pay back. But the United States has made no such deal. We're just giving money. We have no guarantees at all. My understanding is some of the other ones from Europe are backed, meaning they're supposed to get a return, but apparently we're not. And so the idea of getting something out of it, I mean, that's good. I mean, that's kind of what a lot of people voted for Trump for, America first. Like, we want to help people, but we also, what's in it for us? And that's nothing wrong with that. We should look out for ourselves. And understanding that, it seems that was a good motivation, a win-win, right?
Right.
But it seems that, I don't know, it may be that some people are so committed to the money they can make. Like, I think, Sashi says, Noble Sashi, the continuation of the war is too profitable. We've said before on this channel before that, war is profitable. There's a lot of contracts that happen in war that make people a lot of money. You can look that up.
A lot of money.
You can look that up. And we have Mr. Lester. I really appreciate him saying, don't drink the Kool-Aid from either side. He's correct. The fact is, we should never be too quick to think we can believe everything we see or read.
Well,
That's true.
Right.
I absolutely believe that. I believe that. The skeptic tank. I'm not aware of your channel or your handle. I love it. Thank you. Instead of septic tank, the skeptic tank. I appreciate that. I absolutely agree with that. And I think we here at Indignant Desert Birds, we are definitely attuned. We are on board with that sentiment, not to drink the Kool-Aid from either side, especially yours truly, Ursula, because I am not a Republican. As I've told you before, I'm not a Democrat either, though. And I basically try to look at how I feel about whatever's happening from time to time and then decide what I think seems best at the time, rather than feeling I have some kind of preconceived notion that I have to abide by. But, Sir Lester also says Europe has shot itself in the foot by outsourcing their energy to Putin thanks to enviro Yahtzees. Yeah. And I like how you say Yahtzees because we can't say the other word.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's probably true. There's a lot of, what he's pointing out is the fact that this is complicated. There are a lot of different competing interests and moving parts.
I mean, look.
Yeah.
I think part of it is also because I think what Lester's talking about too is like, if we just look at the UK, I think the UK, if my understanding, they just gave a deal to I think like 6 billion or something like that to give to them. But they actually, I think, spend more than that from goods and energy that they get from like Russia, right? Or like Germany and stuff like that. So these countries are giving some, but they're also, so it's almost like a circle of money, right?
Yeah.
Lady Janice Red, he went full force. Get off my plane.
Get off my plane.
Get off my plane. No, it's
Heck,
like
in midair. Get
in
out.
midair.
I think he would have. He'd be like, you can find your way down.
Come on.
You can find your way down. Oh, it was definitely like that. That was the mood. The mood was get off my plane. That's true. Yeah, I mean, but we have to return to this issue though. I mean, it's true. We should not drink the Kool-Aid from either side. That's for sure. I mean, let's not forget that those on the right have been very warmongering themselves. Okay.
Right.
Now it seems like that Trump is against the war.
Stuff like that. Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Bushes, are you kidding me? There's no war they didn't want to get themselves into, no matter what pretense it would take to get us into war. Okay, they want to do it. We've seen that before with the so-called neocons, etc. We can't trust them either. There was no, weapons of mass destruction. Yet we went headlong. We just want the oil, and we'll say whatever. But at the same time, I think we can take Trump at his word that he really does want the war in Ukraine to end. And, for it to end, there have to be sacrifices on both sides. I think he was saying that. Again, we've said before, Fletcher, that President Trump's take on his presidency, especially the second time around, is he's going to use what strengths he has in business to apply it to the political governance process, that he's not going to try to be a typical politician at all. He's not going through committees. He's going to act the way a CEO does. That may have its strengths. It may have its weaknesses. There are drawbacks to it. There's also positives. But he's like art of the deal. He's saying to Zelensky, look, you don't have all the cards. You need to make smart decisions and leverage your position. And it seemed like Zelensky would have none of it. And this here is very distressing because to me, this subverts the president's imperative. If you're meeting with him, with Zelensky, the night before, there's a meeting. We have it here confirmed. None of them deny it. This is
right. This is his official,
Yeah, nobody's lying about this. This is not fake news. We're told by the people involved that they met with this man outside of the White House. That seems inappropriate. I mean, really inappropriate. It seems to me, what are you doing? We're supposed to be on one accord. I mean, that almost smacks of treason to me. You have no business doing that. I mean, you might disagree with Trump's approach, but then the approach that you should take is contact him and say, look, President Trump, with all due respect, I think you're going about this the wrong way. If you would hear me out, I think we can propose something else. And it's your choice, but this is what I want. The people want to say this to you. That's how you talk. You don't go and meet the guy from another country on your own. And then who knows what you told him? What we're being told by something is that they said, he should not do the deal.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, he may not have wanted to do it anyway.
Right.
But I don't think you should be doing that. There's something very strange about that.
Right.
But it would explain why he acted so bizarrely, right? Because he acted like,
let's look some of it.
Yeah, why not?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media.
I mean, look at his face.
And he has his arms crossed. His body language is horrible. And apparently he was rolling his eyes.
Oh, yeah. He called them a B word.
Teenager.
He called them a B word.
Yeah,
they caught him on the hot mic.
Yeah, they called him on the hot mic, calling Vice President J.D. Vance a slur that you call, that means a female dog in Russian.
Office to try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories,
look at the body.
and I know what happens is you
look
bring
at what
people,
he's saying.
You bring them on a propaganda.
How would you
tour,
challenge him to say, "Have you been to Ukraine?" We don't have to go to Ukraine. We have something called media, video, and people on the ground who are our correspondents. We send envoys there
and attack the administration that is.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy.
We're not required to do that. We're helping your butt.
Yeah.
Okay.
and the favorite one is that he didn't have the cards. That's the thing that I mean, basically, you just have to understand that.
You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
You don't have the cards.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think President Trump, in my opinion, was not being disrespectful at all. I think by saying the truth, which is what you do when you're dealing with somebody who seems arrogant and irrational, is to try to talk sense to them and say, and he didn't say you'll never have the cards. Look at how carefully he said it. You don't have the cards right now.
Right.
That's not insulting you. In fact, President Trump said, no one gives him credit for this, but I heard him say, you know what? Your people have been very brave, which is a quality that Slavic people and a lot of other people really value. It's a very high compliment. He says, your people, by the way, giving credit to Zelensky as his people, like they're under your command. They have been very brave, but you can't go on like this. That's not disrespectful. But in contrast, this guy's threatening us. You're not going to be so this, and you've never been there. You don't know. I mean, calling him by his first name. Come on. It's like he was doing a showboat. He was theorizing. This is theater.
No, it is. I think this guy said it well, and his name is. Let me see if I got it. I believe I have it, and this is Konstantin Kissick. He's a huge supporter of Ukraine, right? So this would be, even though he's a free speech, he's a comedian, Russian Jewish comedian, and he's very pro-Ukraine. He was very disrespectful, like. He was very anti-Putin, right? He's not a shill for, you can never call him a shill for Putin, right? And even he was like, Zelensky made a mistake in this meeting, right? Even he was like talking about this. Let's see if the audio can come through.
Domestic American politics and the hatred MAGA has for anyone and anything President Biden touched. Most Americans don't know where Ukraine is and have no reason to care. To them, this is just another forever war like Iraq or Afghanistan.
And that's the truth. We were just talking about that. To us, it feels like this is a forever war like Iraq and Afghanistan that we did not want to join because we were lied to.
Right.
Right. And if we were lied about that, what keeps it from this being lied about this also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he does make a great point on this, because I think this is how a lot of people feel.
In other words, President Zelensky walked into a room in which people who don't particularly like him, don't particularly trust him, and don't particularly care about his just and righteous cause were nevertheless prepared to continue.
And you see that? You can tell right there he's pro-Zelensky. I mean, if you watch the whole video, you can check it out. It's on his channel, Trigonometry. And basically, he says righteous cause. He puts a little bit of like, like war photos and all stuff. Everything's very pro-Ukraine, but he does say that, it's a little bit different. And he does talk about how the difference between Europe and the U.S.
giving him money, weapons, and political support in order to make this problem go away. All he had to do was look grateful. When you're attempting to convert other people's goodwill into hard currency, that's the bare minimum. And for 40 minutes, Zelensky just about managed. The rationale for the argument he then instigated with J.D. Vance is not without merit. As I explained in my last video on Substack, Zelensky's primary concern has to be what are known as security guarantees. This is a fancy way of saying that Putin is a proven liar who can't be trusted to stick to any agreement that's reached.
If you thought that he's a shill for Putin, you have
There's your sign.
There's your sign that is not the case.
Not the case.
He's obviously very anti-Putin, and his side. He makes, to my understanding and our cursory knowledge of the situation, I think it's very well said, right?
Therefore, the only way to prevent another invasion is through a permanent presence of European or American troops in between Russia and Ukraine. He kept making this point over and over during the press conference and did so diplomatically enough. But the way he
which we don't want. We don't want our troops anywhere. We don't want fights, correct?
Right.
Challenged Vance directly in front of the cameras was catastrophically stupid. Sure, if you hate Trump and Vance and think they're taking part in the YouTube debate, then Zelensky made a valid point. But this wasn't a debate. They're all supposed to be on the same side. And the person who has the most to lose from them not feeling like they're on the same side is Zelensky, or more importantly, his nation. The arguments about security guarantees should have been made with tact, diplomacy, and in private. To make things worse, he followed this unfortunate error with another much bigger one. In Europe, Zelensky is used to winning people over to his cause by claiming that Ukraine is all that stands between them and Vladimir Putin.
Right, and we don't have that issue here in the United States, which is a point that basically he makes, because we thought it was when he said, "Oh, you have a big ocean," right? If you guys see the video, you have a big ocean. It's a shame or something. That was like, is that a threat? I just felt like Trump was going, "Mother trucker, are you serious?" I mean, people were laughing because JD Vance, is a Marine, so he started doing like the one hand like chop. And it's like when a Marine starts doing the one-handed chop, you're in trouble, right?
We can argue about whether such claims are true, but the important thing is that in Europe we are much more receptive to this message for both cultural and pragmatic reasons. We are on the same continent as Russia, and NATO's eastern border is now in contact with Russia. This point of contact would have been significantly extended had Ukraine been overrun. These arguments don't wash in America, and what's worse, Americans hate people painting a negative picture of their society's future. This is why I believe President Trump interrupted Zelensky when he claimed that America won't be protected from Putin by an ocean and shut him down. None of this is to suggest that Vance or Trump behaved perfectly, but they aren't the ones asking for more money, weapons, and diplomatic support.
Exactly.
Boom. Boom. I mean, I'm sorry. To me, that's literally the one thing that you're really said. It is like, boom.
Boom. Roasted.
He's not the one asking. You come here, you don't wear a suit. You basically show no respect just because every time you go to Europe, everybody's like on your, oh my gosh, the great hero. And you're like, and they did the same thing with Biden. This is a different administration. I mean, that's my opinion.
I think you're right, and I think he's really smart to be able to see clearly enough to say he's on the side of Zelensky. He's on the side of Ukraine. He's chosen his side. He doesn't think that he is wrong in terms of his cause, and maybe not even wrong to turn down the deal, but that he was behaving terribly for someone who's looking for support and use an opportunity to showboat instead of act diplomatically. And that even if President Trump and Vice VP Vance were, like, as he said, not perfectly acting themselves, they nonetheless didn't have to. They're at home. You're coming to them for help. So this is not, at the very minimum, as he says, you do want to express gratitude. And that was definitely missing.
Definitely missing, because that was Vance's main point to him. You got to come and say thank you. In other words, my understanding, the deal was done. That's why they were just waiting for him to say, smile to the camera, say thank you, and that'll be the end of it.
That'd be in the end of it.
But I guess, like what you were saying, and we were just reading, when he met with some of these Democrats and, a couple of rhinos, it looks like they were like, hold on. In other words, we can sweeten the deal.
We can do better.
We can do better, not knowing what they're into.
Their job is to look generous and find a route to peace.
Yeah.
Zelensky's job is to realize that he stopped being a human being when he became president of a country reliant on foreign aid to survive. He doesn't have the luxury of righteousness, and his country cannot afford to have him lose control of his senses as he did. So, is this salvageable? I believe it is, for the following reasons. First, Trump said as much. He sent Zelensky home to get him to realize that he needs to stop messing around.
And that's true. It's true.
And made it clear that discussions can resume when Zelensky...
And this was the thing that basically Trump said. We had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing that comes out through emotion, and I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace in America. it's not ready for peace if America is involved because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiation. I don't want advantage. I want peace. That's the main thing, right? We're not
Yes.
looking to get into bed with you guys. We're not looking to, to anything else, but we want peace. That's it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. We don't want to have like military base in there forever to make this a forever war, back and forth. We just want once you we can make a deal. He's the art of the deal.
Art of the
He's
deal.
able to go in there and says, I think I can make a deal. Right?
Exactly.
We need some of your materials. You guys want peace. There's something we could broker. And we saw even later in the week where Vladimir Putin was like, hey, you guys want minerals? Yo, we got minerals too, son. Right? And it's just like, okay. But in other words, Putin is like, hey, American money? Come over and get them, right?
Yeah.
Like, come over and get some minerals. Like, we have no problem doing that. In other words, he doesn't want a deal, meaning he doesn't want to get roped in. My understanding of this, we're not experts on this, but my understanding is that we don't want to get involved in this whole like infighting that's been going on for whatever, the heck it is, right? Leave us the heck out of it. We'll help you get peace because it's a shame that people are dying. And this is, I think, who doesn't give the credit to President Trump because he just wants peace. He doesn't care about putting a NATO base there, which Europe is like, no, we got to get NATO there because Putin's a liar. We don't care. We just want peace. That's it. We don't want no more people dying. We want it to be rebuilt. You guys can do whatever the heck you want to do, but don't get us involved. You know what I mean? It's like it every time we've gone to war with something, we made it work. And I think that's the issue. The issue is that we don't want to get involved with you guys.
Yeah, I agree. And I also agree with what Lester has said here. American presence would or should be a deterrent from Russian aggression, just as with European presence. But Europe often doesn't reportedly pull their weight, save Britain or Canada. And I think that's correct. I think that the whole idea of, Zelensky wanting something more from the United States in terms of forcing the issue, for security, that, what if Putin does this? What if Putin does that? The idea is, look, if we're there with financial interests, trust me, Russia will respect that. We'll be over there. We'll be there working out our own businesses.
Right.
And that's a kind of deterrent. Like if we're here with American presence and Europe doesn't do that, okay, so maybe he shouldn't be comparing us to Europe, with the exception, like it says, Britain or Canada, who don't really pull their weight in terms of,
right,
deterring Russian aggression. Right? Yeah, for sure. And Trump gave fad energy. Oh yeah, I think I understand what Lady Jen said.
Yeah, it's like fab, right?
Yeah, yeah. Trump gave up. So yeah, I think you're right. I think this gentleman has it right. I think President Trump is not going to, I don't think, hold a grudge, honestly. I think he cares about the deal. At the end of the day, I'm sure he's been called bigger names, has had more scary confrontations than this. I mean, he did construction, real estate work in New York City. So this was child's play compared to what I'm sure the kinds of, screaming matches I'm sure he's been in his career over many years. But I think that it's very interesting to see what other people, think when they look at that scene, and also consider that there are people in the United States that are, really not necessarily looking out for Americans' interests or America first. Yes. I mean, if you're getting involved, first of all, there's something called the Logan Act. I just learned about this. I never heard of it, but we were reading, like Fletcher says, we're not experts on this, but we have been reading to try to have, something to say to you tonight. And there's at least one lawyer I read on a blog, and he was saying there is something called the Logan Act, which is a law that's still on the books, and it goes back over like 200 years, which says that no one can do negotiations for diplomacy with a foreign nation or with a foreign president or prime minister without the president's express consent. To do so is a violation of the law, and it's the Logan Act. I guess there was someone named Logan who was getting involved, I think, during the Revolutionary War, trying to make deals with France on our behalf, but he wasn't, I think Thomas Jefferson may have been president at the time or something, and he didn't have permission, and he mucked it up. And as a result, they, put together the Logan Act, which says you can't do it. Okay. No matter what your title is, only the president has the authority to engage in diplomacy, to get in action such as this. But yeah, as you've shown here, Fletcher, we have this wicked group.
Oh yeah. So it looks like
we got Susan Rice, someone named Victoria Newland, Alexander Vindman, and that these people apparently told Zelensky to reject Trump's deal.
No, correct. And basically, but they were showing that when you said, so these are some of the tweets. True that Blinken, Rice, Nolan, and Vindman confer called with Zelensky in the flight. How many Ys are they going to put with Zelensky? I've seen so many of them. On the flight to D.C., assessing him to stand strong and be tough. Don't let Trump bully you. Is he a child? Is he going for lunch or something? Security bar. I guess Susan Rice, the security advisor, was key architect of West of 2014 coup in Ukraine, which was the foundation for everything that happened in Ukraine since then. All the needless death and destruction built upon madness and rights. Because all this stuff happened, I guess, during Obama, right? Supposedly. But this is what the Logan Act, I guess, says. The Logan Act is United States federal law enacted in January 30th, 1799 that prohibits unauthorized American citizens from engaging in direct negotiation or correspondence with foreign governments or their officials with the intent to influence their actions or policies in relation to disputes or controversies with the United States. I guess it was named
pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I mean, really, pretty
isn't that straightforward?
There's no like, but son, right?
Pretty straightforward. I mean, I hope they start actually pursuing this stuff, because this is why we still have these problems. I don't think. Listen, I get it. If you don't like President Trump, and you might think what he's doing is ill-advised, like I said before, it doesn't mean you have to go along with him. But you cannot subvert him. That's really not cool. That's ununified. It's confusion, and it's not in good order. Like, you're supposed to go to him and say what you feel. You don't meet with the dignitary of your own and tell them anything. Even if you were telling him, do it, you're right, do what Trump says, you're still wrong. You're not supposed to have anything to do with it. As a citizen, you're not part of the presidency. You're not supposed to do it. And this woman, I'm mad at her because I used to really admire Susan Rice. I know probably very few people listening either A, know who she even is, or B, if you do, she's a great Democrat, so you might not like her. If you like us, you probably don't like her. I always liked her. I started to like her back when she worked for Clinton. I believe she worked for Clinton at some point. And I was just a kid, but I remember seeing her on TV talking about some of the, scandals that former President Clinton got himself involved in, including in the Oval Office. And she was arguing certain things for him. And I thought she was so smart and so put together. And then I think she did work for Obama. But now I don't really respect her, because she just seems like she's just, whatever Trump does, she's just against it. And that's not necessarily for the country.
Yeah, look at. I think in this sphere right now, right? Me and you, in this right now as we're talking, I'm the biggest Trump fanatic than you. We can say that safely. I'm the one that's a Republican between the two. And we both criticize the unveiling of the island files, as we like to call them, because you don't want to get into it. And we thought that was a debauchery. That's a criticism. And sometimes a lot of people that, on the left side, they can't even criticize anything. you know. But let's hear what your former hero has to say.
Oh,
Oh,
Well, Nicole,
ouch.
obviously it's a very sad day and an embarrassment for the.
can I just say she's an elegant looking woman, right?
Yeah.
That's what also probably drew you in because the way she like looks and stuff, she looks like she's a dignitary, right?
Right. She does have that view, that
Yeah.
feel to her. Yeah.
United States on the world stage. But let's step back and analyze what's happened here. I think there's no question that this was a setup. You heard Donald Trump say at the end of that clip
Yeah, by you.
television.
By y'all.
This was a setup.
Y'all the ones that set
Y'all
it up.
set it up.
What is the thing? You know, it's like the thief. You know,
Runs,
the
yeah.
Bible speaks about.
Yes, the Bible talks about this.
The thief runs when no one is chasing him.
Yes.
Right. It is
Yes.
like the things and like you told me about narcissists. That's one thing that they're gonna gaslight you on.
Yeah.
Is the same thing that they're doing.
Whatever they're doing, they're gonna accuse you of doing.
Vladimir Zelensky was compelled.
That's her buddy.
To agree.
That's her buddy.
That's her buddy. She's telling on herself.
Buddy. That's her buddy. Vladimir. How many glasses of wine have y'all had together, Susan? Susan and Vladimir.
Don't call her out. Don't call her
to
out.
A horrible deal that would have sent Ukraine's minerals to the United States.
What do you care about them? Care about us.
What do you care about? You know,
care about us.
Right?
Stop it already. Care about us.
Yeah, why don't you care about us?
You don't represent him, Susie. You don't represent him. You represent us.
Right.
You don't represent us either because you're not in this particular White House, but you're supposed to care about your own country.
You're supposed to be in America.
Horrible deal.
Yeah.
What the heck is
wrong?
What kind of person thinks like this? You guys should be shipped off somewhere. Do you really say some crap like that?
It's just crazy.
Concrete security guarantees. And yet,
did you notice they always come up with like their little taglines? And the taglines are now security guarantees.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the security guarantees. Yeah. I mean, Lester was talking about that, you know, that the presidents and stuff. But the thing is, we don't want that president. We don't want to be there forever. You know what I mean? That they're trying to get out of that whole thing. I mean, we think tomorrow is going to be getting out of NATO, hopefully. Right? And hopefully, you know, getting lowering house prices.
Because he was trying to improve a relationship with Donald Trump, he came to Washington, he came to the Oval Office and sat down for a meeting, hat in hand. And soon after...
Does he look like he had hat in hand for one? And secondly, he came for a done deal. He came for a done deal.
He didn't come for anything. He tried to blow it up. Shut up. You know he's there to blow it up.
After he got there,
right?
The vice president of the United States lit into him and started a confrontation. Now, I've been in countless Oval Office meetings with heads of state, presidents and vice presidents, as national security advisor, as UN ambassador, and in other roles. I can tell you that the vice president or the secretary of state or anybody else, they don't jump in, hijack a conversation without the express blessing of the president of the United States.
So basically, you have.
What is she talking about?
Yeah, you can on stuff. I mean, you can bring up so many things that every time like a meeting's going on and somebody interrupts. Come on, man! It's just you made me go full.
She's so full of it. She's so full of it. She's just trying to cover her tracks because she literally met with this guy beforehand, and she already showed her cards. She says it's a horrible deal for him. When that's not your interest, dear heart. It's not. First of all, it's not a horrible deal. And secondly, that's on him to decide. That's not for you to say. You should be America first, saying whatever deal is good for us is good. We don't evaluate a deal from the point of view of the person on the other side. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. And then on the other hand, you're like, oh, Vladimir, like he's your buddy. And then you immediately say that, oh, he lit into him. When what anybody saw who watched it was that the person who jumped ugly first was Vladimir. It wasn't our people. They jumped on him after he jumped first. And you know what? if you're gonna, go for it, then be ready to get, punks jump up to get beat down. That's what happened.
And nothing but a beat.
Ain't nothing but a beat down. And yeah, and I think Selby, Vice Sergeant Selby is right. Our person here, that's just it. Our media is not America first. They are everyone else first.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We're finding out that not only our media, but our politicians are not America first. We're not even getting the politicians are America first, let alone the media.
They're not even true.
I mean, and then we find out that USAID is paying for all this media coverage and all stuff to go against us. I mean, it's insane. I don't, man, it's just crazy. Oh, we have Miss Martin Muses. Hey, not so much. So remember I was telling you there was a YouTuber that has a channel where she does literature and Catholicism?
Oh, neat.
That is Miss Martin Muse.
Oh, welcome. Thank you for coming.
And please, guys, everybody on the thing, follow Curtis Shelby. He has a great channel. And he does very diverse conversations, deep dives in conversation.
Love it.
Lester San Jose, also deep dives and stuff. But yeah, Miss Martin Muse is definitely also she's got a great channel, and she does great Catholic talks and stuff like that, and it's just great. I mean, it's I love it. It's there's a few Catholic nerds I think in the sphere that everybody runs with, and it's awesome to like, oh, you Catholic too. We should hang out.
Well, you guys are having some kind of private thing, which I love. Your little nerd online friends.
Well, we did talk about this whole thing with Europe, right? And I wanted to touch on it briefly because the Europeans are like recently we know that the Europeans are giving they're all for it, right? They're all like rah rah rah. I mean, he just went to the United Kingdom and all stuff, and they're like, yeah, we're just going to give you money, son.
Cheering people of the United Kingdom coming out to demonstrate how much they support you, how much they support Ukraine. And
look at the face, that thing. He doesn't have to say anything.
Unwavering determination.
Right?
To me, he looks like a weasel.
It just comes and he comes.
When I look at him, I just now see weasel.
That's all I see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to our European.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude.
Our European cousins. I'm sorry.
If I'm wrong. And to be honest, like the brother said, we have to look at it that we may not be getting the full picture. But what I have seen, I'm sorry, I'm not impressed. Let's say that.
No, correct. I wasn't either. I mean, so far, nothing that I've heard had sold me.
Nothing makes me feel. I don't feel impressed by his behavior or his conduct. My understanding, like someone said in the chat, that the men, and it was mentioned by VP Vance, that so many young, and actually President Trump as well, so many young men in Ukraine have died in this war, that they have literally died, that they are literally pulling men off the street. They say that you can look at YouTube on this platform and find video of people like being dragged out of bars just to be to the front lines because they're missing men because they have lost so many. It's like, how can you go on like that? And I know that he wants land back, and I get that. If Russia took land, you should try to get it back. I think President Trump even said that. But you also have to consider that property is not as important as people. People come before property. And if you have to make a deal that's not the best to stop people from dying, why wouldn't you do that? That's called common sense.
No, it is. I mean,
that's morality. It seems,
you have more commodity in people than things.
Yeah.
Right? You can always get more things. You can't ever get your people back.
Right.
You know?
I mean, at the end of the day,
so far I hear like people are doing
first,
like buses
money.
And stuff and picking these people up.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to chase people to get them to the front lines. And I didn't like that Zelensky apparently, and we did a short on it, everybody. You should go look at our short. Said that, the US Americans will have to start having their men die now.
Yes, and that was this clip.
Excuse me, I don't care for that.
This was right after. Right after
what?
right after the meeting, supposedly.
With President Trump, right?
Yeah, like it was not too long after or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like,
the U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war, and they will have to fight.
Why?
Excuse me?
Why do we have to fight?
Come again?
And why do we have to send?
What's that now?
Yeah, what the heck do we have to do with this?
What the heck are you saying? It sounds to me more
the
like
amount
threats.
of just entitlement of this fool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm not being generous. It's now I'm guilty of calumny, right? Now I'm guilty of calumny. It's just
No, you're not. You're not, Fletcher.
Yeah.
You're not, because you know what? He has earned that. You have to say he's earned that. You have, like, you showed someone who's actually on his side, saying, all you had to do was basically be thankful and keep your mouth shut, and then you might have had the peace, and instead you blew it up. That is a fool. That's foolish. And we're not saying in a mean way. We're not trying to call him out or call him a fool. We're saying your behavior speaks for yourself. We're going off your behavior. I personally had no feelings about this man prior to Friday. I never thought about him. Like most Americans, this is off our radar. We've been concerned about our own domestic problems. We had an open border. We had, very high food costs, which still haven't fully come down. We had a president that seemed to be AWOL. We didn't know what was going on. It's a lot going on. So the Ukraine war, honestly, was not high. A lot of people are not thinking about that. Not that we don't care. Obviously, the loss of life is tragic. You can't not care about that. But it's not like something that we spend every day talking about, because it's not in our backyard. Thanks be to God.
Amen.
So I had no feelings toward this man one way or the other. As far as I'm concerned, it's a war, so it means both sides have something they did wrong.
Correct.
But when I see him behave the way he did, which to me did not seem like somebody who was reposed with the kind of authority and power and responsibility that a president of a country would be, starting from the tracksuit he wore, like he's about to go, to the store for his mama.
No. He wears the tracksuit because he made a righteous promise, that he would not wear a suit until he won the war.
Right.
Because it's possible for him to win the war, but because he did say they were going to die.
It's nature that we're talking about, and they will be dying.
Yeah. Well, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. And now I just feel the way I feel. I don't see anything that makes me feel differently. To me, we're not supposed to say anybody's a fool. We don't want to say, don't say Raka, you fool, Jesus said. But I don't see anything other than someone who has acted foolishly. That part is true. I mean, because you don't come to someone else's house and then try to call yourself telling them off, especially if you're trying to come asking for money. And I'm sorry, Lady Susan, Rice saying he came hat in hand. There was nothing about him that had the feeling of hat in hand. That, for those who don't know that expression, it basically means you are coming almost like very dejected, humble, very, groveling almost. He didn't have that kind of attitude. It was very much entitled.
Right. I mean, it's just, I just, some people were breaking it down and all that stuff. And, part of it is like this one, I think, was kind of interesting.
Bring the one fucking thing he was told to bring to this meeting.
And I apologize
for the plan for peace. No, instead he just talked shit, told us the war was going to be on our doorstep soon, and expected us to cut another fucking check. Let me explain something. I'm going to say it real fucking slow for the liberals in the back.
God. Fletcher, it's a family show.
Russia.
Sorry. And that's the thing. It's like the military can't defeat the Ukraine military. They can't defeat Russia. Russia's a huge force. Ukraine is tiny, right? They can't beat them. So what are you asking? You're asking us to fight your war for you, which we don't want to do. But we were willing to just say, hey, it's okay. We will, work it out, right? We get something, you get something. We'll talk with Putin. Putin wants money too, right? He likes that stuff. But not everybody in Europe, I was saying, it's not sensible, right? There's still some people in Europe. Well, we'll see.
I was looking around social media today, and it struck me that a lot of people who like to start wars are suddenly very angry with one guy who wants to stop this war.
And that's the key, right? That's the thing that I don't get. I thought everybody was kumbaya. We're going to stop the wars. No more wars. Am I wrong? When did the Democrats change?
I don't know.
That's the thing that I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't get the why do you want to start a war? But I mean, I could be wrong.
And there are people who have taken us into one disaster after another, war in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, who have spent much of today on social media attacking Trump. What we're seeing, I think, is a reset of geopolitics, a reset. We're seeing the breakdown of what you might call the international liberal world order, which saw 20, 30 years of one foreign policy disaster after another. And Trump, I was at the inauguration in America, and people around the president are basically saying, they've had enough of that constant interventionism. They've had enough of Europe, by the way, again, maybe a controversial point, but Europe not paying its way on defense. And they've...
I mean, if you look at the charts,
yeah.
I mean, the charts are astronomical. How much? If my understanding is correct, I think it's like more than 80% or 90% in certain regions of what we pay for NATO for their security.
Wow.
Right?
They've looked to Germany, they've looked to France, they've looked to Italy, they've looked to the UK, and they said, what are you guys doing? Take Germany as an example. Germany under the Greens, absolutely bonkers, becoming more dependent upon Russia.
Bonkers for you guys that don't speak English. It's going nuts. Dude, that was my joke. Never mind.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Because of its ridiculous energy policy, becoming more dependent upon China, and then turning around and criticizing Donald Trump when he says we've got to end this war. I mean, I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense anymore. There are two things that need to happen. One is Ukraine obviously needs to be involved in the negotiated settlement. That's obvious. But the second key point is this now has to be a line in the sand. After this negotiated settlement, Europe is going to have to pay to defend itself. We cannot just rely on America, because understandably they're saying, look, we've got China. We've got our problems on the border. We've got to revitalize our economy. So I think for everybody who sat there criticizing Donald Trump, I do think we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and think, actually, are we getting this right here in Europe?
Right.
I mean, amen. Do the snaps. Do the snaps. Snap.
Snaps. Oh,
snap.
We have to do the snaps. Okay.
Snaps.
All right. You can't hear the snap. Right?
I heard the snap.
All right. It's snap approved, because there are some sensible people basically saying what.
I agree with this man. He's a smart man.
See, we have to end this. I don't care how it ends. We just want it to end. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We don't want this thing to go on forever. We don't want to keep it like this ridiculous sense of like, oh, look, we're going to get this and that. I just feel like we just want this to end. Why can't we get this to end?
Let it end.
Let it end, because it's been going on for, I mean, if they said 2014, you're like, what exactly are you doing that you want this to go on? Oh, well, Putin keeps breaking the things. I don't care. I don't really care what it does. We don't even care about the thing to begin with. So if we don't care and we don't have that empathy, right? We're in apathy stage, right? We're just we sent so much money and nothing was done. And then the guy comes up and says, hey, by the way, I don't even know where that money is.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand this much of it. I guess we would listen to somebody that's a little bit smarter than I am. This is Mr. Chomsky, that kind of explained the whole NATO expression, because I know it goes back. And this is kind of short, guys. But just so we can get kind of like a go into it, because we did have kind of like a little bit update. So what is Sir Trevor says they changed in 2008, the Democrats. I that's what I'm saying. It used to be like peace, right? It used to be like Democrats.
I don't know now. I don't know.
Yeah, it's no more useless wars, and right? It wasn't in like buttons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. But Chomsky's a little bit. I would say it's a little bit. That's what I'm saying. Mr. Chomsky's on the left of me, totally. Right? How left is it of you, Ursula?
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
How about you guys?
Just play it. Just play it, Fletcher.
The idea that Ukraine might join a Western military alliance would be quite unacceptable to any Russian leader. This goes back to 1990, when the Soviet Union collapsed. There was a question as to what would happen with NATO. Gorbachev agreed to allow Germany to be unified and to join NATO. It's a pretty remarkable concession, with a quid pro quo that NATO would not expand 1 inch to the east. Right. That was the phrase that was used.
So Russia has been provoked.
Well, what happened? NATO instantly moved to East Germany. Then Clinton came along, expanded NATO right to the borders of Russia. Now there are the new Ukrainian government, the government after the overthrow of the preceding one. The parliament voted, I think 300 to 8 or something like that, to move to join NATO.
Which you can understand why they would want to join NATO. You can see why Petro Poroshenko's government would probably see that it's protecting his country.
No, it's not protect. Crimea was taken away after the overthrow of the government.
There you go.
Right? And he's not protecting Ukraine, is threatening Ukraine with major war. That's not protection. The point is, this is a serious strategic threat to Russia, which any Russian leader would have to react to. That's well understood.
That's the thing.
This is a smart man. I love what Sir Selby said. Look, Chomsky was a prominent liberal philosopher of the 1960s. The Democrats quit listening to him years ago because he's actually smart. I mean, liberal doesn't mean leftist. I think these people, we say liberal a lot, but I think we're not right, because liberalism is more rational, more moderate. Leftism is the crazy extremists on the left that we sometimes see now. The ones who are trying to undermine everything, with TDS syndrome, whatever Trump says, they go against it, Trump derangement syndrome. I think what Chomsky's saying makes a lot of sense. And I don't care that he's a liberal. He's saying that, this is a complicated issue. And actually, Zelensky is not looking out for his people. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, and I mean, just so you guys saw, right? I'm completely on the right. The other side of the right. If there was a hill on the right, I'll be like underneath, like on the side of the hill, right? Like over the hill, like one of those bridges that have the glass bridges over the hill. That's where I would be. And so far, I've put up Susan Rice, Chomsky. I had Kissinger, which he's from the UK, Russian Jewish guy who's he's on the left. Supposedly now he's in the center. Je ne sais, right? But that's what I'm trying to show. I'm trying to show that it's easy for me to put like all right talking points, right?
Right.
And I think that's what we don't want to do. We want to show that, there's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of people on both sides that really are against this. We don't want a war. As Sashi says, no more useless war unless it lines our pockets. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. And it does feel like, it's not lining our pockets. It's not, it's not, it's not working for us. And I agree that as I said, I think liberal, when we use it for people who are just, anti everything, that is not what the classical liberal means. Like wanting liberty, as Sir Viceroy Selby says, and that you're generous with your money and talents towards others. I also think, it's a kind of tradition of thought that maybe we can, look at sometime of what it means to be a classical liberal. I don't think that's what a lot of these people are now who call themselves that. I think they are illiberal. They're not thoughtful, you know, they are not generous with anything. They just care for themselves. It's just, you know, basically it's just kind of, you know, anti decent values that most people have. And
it's a shame.
Yeah, and I think Chomsky has made some good points, and you know, I think that people should listen to what he's saying. Actually, it sounds like it makes a lot of sense. Actually,
yeah, and so this is just out recently. So this is the post, and I guess there is movement, shall we say? So I guess Trump warned Zelensky won't be around very long if he refuses to make a deal, as they had discussed, and a lot of people talked about. There is an opposition. I do have a short on the channel, so check it out. It's Tulsi Gabbard talking about how the stuff that Zelensky's doing to try to oppress his, you know, like rivals, I guess, in Ukraine. So check that out. She breaks it down. It's only like a minute and 40 seconds or something like that. But I guess this is what. So if he refuses to make a deal with Russia, I don't think he's going to last. So from Washington, Trump said Monday, Ukrainian President Zelensky won't be around very long if he won't make a peace deal with Russia, deepening the rift between the men after a shouting match Friday in the Oval Office. Trump added the pressure on Zelensky after the Ukrainian leader said Sunday to an end to his country's war with Russia was very, very far away. Everybody has to get in a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal, and the deal can't be made very fast. So obviously my understanding is the deal was already done, right? Because he had talked to people from Russia before. And I don't want to speculate, but it did seem the way that everybody was talking and the way that they were going into this meeting and the promises that Trump made, it felt like this was a done deal and he was going to come out and it's going to be a victory lap. Right?
Right.
That's because even if he began, I did put up a short when Zelensky came into the White House, he even joked around like, hey, he's look at him. He's all dressed up today, right? As a little jest, right? And you don't jest like that until you feel like you got things in the bag.
Right. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, you guys can make up your own minds. To me, it seems like you don't do that when you know that the you know there's tensions. You do that when everything's in the bag and you guys are just doing optics.
Right.
But
so in other words, let me just make sure people follow us. So basically what Fletcher's talking about is that when Zelensky literally appeared at the door of the White House to meet President Trump, who very respectfully waited for him outside to come out, and we have video of, you know, Zelensky standing there with President Trump and getting out of the vehicle, and President Trump saying, oh, wow, he's dressed up today, and ribbing him a little bit about his outfit. And as Fletcher says, I think quite astutely, that's not what you do if you're expecting a tense meeting. You're not making little jocular comments like that. You're not being facetious or jovial. You know, that's what Trump was doing because he did expect that it would, you know, turn into this broil, that this guy came in bad faith and had no intention of actually signing the deal. I think President Trump thought it was a done deal. That's what Secretary Rubio says, that it was a done deal. We met with him. He said, okay, he'll sign. It's all good. And then shows up to like basically blow the whole thing up. And so, you know, I'm sure, honestly, President Trump was not caught off guard. I do believe he didn't expect it to go that way. But again, he's spent his time doing deals. It's not the first time he's had a deal blow up. I'm sure he knows that's always a possibility. I'm sure as a businessman, it's happened more than once in his career. He's been, you know, at high level of deals for like a lot of his career. So I don't think he's surprised. I think he's, you know, probably a little surprised, but not shocked, I should say.
Right.
And I hear that it says that Viceroy Selby would make an excellent benevolent dictator. That's what we call ourselves. We're benevolent dictators here. at the Indignant Desert Bird channel. Beneficent rulers, benevolent dictators.
Call yourself.
Another way of saying that is, monarchs. That's why we have the king and queen title. We were given that by Lady Jen, and we've been giving people royal titles actually even before that. And then, we were knighted king and queen. So yeah, benevolent dictator. But this guy isn't. I mean, his whole body language, look there. I mean, he looks like he's Justin Timberlake. It's like he's about to go into song.
Right? I mean, come on.
He got the little goatee going. He's about to sing.
Yeah, it's just.
And then President Trump, what President Trump's saying to him right there, which is very important, he goes, "You are playing around, messing around, and going to bring World War III. That's what you're doing."
Oh yeah. It says, the president's. I want all those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed by the thousands every single week. Before saying that Zelensky should be more appreciative to the U.S. support because his country is stuck with them through thick and thin. But who else? When you guys see all these talks everywhere around social medias and in the news and in the media, they're saying that, the buzzword, like we said before, was reassurance, right? Isn't that the stuff they're like saying? Oh, we want tactical reassurance,
security
assurance, and money, and the heroes. Everybody talks about
adjust and lasting peace.
Adjust and lasting peace. They talk about everything else. I'm sorry. The only one who said this over and over is, to my understanding of at least the way I heard it, was President Trump. I want all these young people to stop being killed from both sides.
Yeah.
I want these young people to stop being killed. That's the thing. We want this war to end. We don't want this war. Why do you want a war? Nobody wants this stuff. It just feels like it's another, Palestinian thing or whatever. It's just we don't want it to go on forever. Nobody wants that. Why would you want it?
I think that yeah, we don't want it. I think someone like Z might want it because he's in charge. He's already suspended elections in his country for the sake of martial law because of the war. Some people have said, it's required under the Constitution. My understanding is that it's optional. He could have elections and chooses not to, and that he's not popular there. I don't know if that's true. President Trump has said it. I have read it from others. So, I mean, someone said tonight, you can't really believe anything. We don't know. But I think that he definitely has some kind of motivation for staying in power. And if he's getting all this money from other countries, you have to imagine some of it's getting kicked to him. And that's a good reason to keep the party going. Even if it means that, every young person is killed. I mean, war is really bad. As I was watching some, he's, on the interwebs, he's like a Christian guy. He was saying that war always reduces morality, that it really does drastically change a community, a society. It doesn't ever come back. War is not good. It really is not just the violence. Of course, that's really the worst part. They have children missing, orphans. All of those things are terrible. Violence, all that's bad. That's the real harm of war. But secondarily, you also have a diminution of decency. That in war, you lose those, social orders that keep people to be moral, and they become very immoral. So that's really sad, That's really sad. Terrible. It's just not good. It's not good.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. And
so I'm mad about it. We need to.
No, it's completely. But this is what we're talking about. We're talking about this media that's kind of partly controlled. So supposedly this is, they're reporting that 90% of Ukraine media is funded by USA, right? So a lot of that media that you're seeing, it's we paying for it.
Where it gets really dark. Because right now, Ukraine, there's reporting 9 out of 10 media outlets in Ukraine are funded by USAID. Otherwise, they would not exist. That's the Ukraine foreign minister's own words, not mine. Norm Eisen has been screaming in the Brookings Institution, in the mainstream media. There's a piece we can put on screen, quote, investigative journalism is essential for Ukraine reconstruction and anti-corruption. They have used the weaponization of journalism through USAID and all of these foreign countries, not to expose or dox autocratic leaders, but to defend themselves and be the Praetorian Guard for the corrupt activities that they've been engaging in. Because you know why, Steve, USAID wants to be funding the journalists on the ground in Ukraine? Because they want the concept of controlled opposition. They don't want the audits. They don't want actual reporters who are going to be digging in to the what? I guess it's now just $77 billion, but what was nearly $200 billion in aid. They want to be controlling the journalists, controlling the messaging, and USAID has been the platform through which they've done that, just like they tried to control President Trump with the first impeachment. But now,
so if they're getting our money to basically provide propaganda that we're, not doing right by them, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, and I think if someone says something that was really a little bit disturbing also, which is, how come we don't get war correspondence from Ukraine? How come we don't have nightly pictures and video? I mean, it's a war. How come we don't see anything from it? Why is that kept from us?
Well, supposedly we get it all in media, but you can't really trust it unless it comes from certain people.
But I've never seen it, though. I'm not lying. I've never seen it. I've never seen anything from Ukraine's war. I've never seen any blown up buildings. I've never seen any destruction. I've never seen any casualties. So why is that not being reported?
I think that's part of the issue. So in other words, what you're saying, it's not like Iraq where we had those, nightly reporters ducking for cover and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, you would expect there to be something. Viceroy Selby says we did for a few months. I guess I missed that. It's possible I was up to something, being busy, because I don't recall ever seeing. I know that for other wars, we would see things about it pretty much every day, be front page news, but you never hear about what's happening in Ukraine.
No, I did remember. So Sachi is saying that they detained one of the guys providing actual reports. If I remember correctly, he was deleted. Because even JD Vance was talking about that recently, that they deleted that guy because they said he wasn't reporting accurately. Which is, anytime the government tells a reporter you're not reporting accurately, just be careful, right? And I think that's part of some of our leftist friends and you talk about sometimes, is that Trump sometimes goes a little overboard with the media, right? And we have to be careful that he doesn't just go full on only my media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think when the AP was not granted access to the Air Force One or something like that, or main seats or whatever it is, the posh seats, right? Because they get to eat fancy food or whatever. They were like, "Oh, this is censorship," but it's like, "Oh no, it's a privilege. It's not a right." And I don't consider that, "Oh, you stopped them," because you're not there to eat the good food or the snacks, right? But the other thing that we were talking about is some of these demonstrations, right? Like this, supposedly this is in Times Square the other day, and it's interesting that it popped up. It's interesting how it's happened. All these folks coming in with their Ukrainian flags coming in, and supposedly these are all refugees, right? So this is I guess the Ukrainian national anthem or whatever.
Yeah.
These are very rich-looking people, I can say. I'm sorry, they don't look malnourished. They all have very fancy jackets.
I don't know if you're showing us anything, Fletcher. We still see Zelensky being kicked out the White House.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. I mean, they have like, where's the justice? Where's the stuff? And you're like, what? Shouldn't I mean? I'm sorry. Shouldn't they be like basically singing the American anthem, maybe, or holding an American flag, saying "Please, America, help us," or anything like that? It's almost like these border protests with all the guys with the Mexican flags, the Honduras flags, and all this talking about you're not going to deport us, and it's like, how many of the people are getting deported are the criminals, for one. Second, they're not all from Mexico.
Right.
And you're like, but why would you want to push your country in a different country? Do you know that in Mexico you can't even raise a foreign flag? Right? You can't, for a lot of these countries, you can't raise a foreign flag and sit their anthem and be protesting on the street. You will get arrested. But they do it here in the United States because of our great freedoms. And the same thing here. I guarantee you go to Ukraine, I don't think you can lift an American flag and do this kind of shenanigans.
Right.
I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't know.
But we did say we wouldn't go long tonight, that we hopefully come back. It's getting to that time. So we may need to wrap this up.
Oh, we really are. But thanks everybody for joining us.
We do plan to come back.
No, yeah. I think we're going to try to do, if we get a chance, to do the Trump's what is it? His speaking into Congress tomorrow, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I think that's gonna be really fun.
The State of the Union, maybe.
Yeah, State of the Union. But we want to thank Lady Jen for coming in. Thank you so much. We want to thank Sashi who came over. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sir Curtis Shelby, Lester. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. It's really nice for everybody to hang out and chill. We had Miss Martin Muses, and that's the name of the show that when they do Catholic Splaining, that's the name. It's pretty cool where they get, they basically explain kind of like our rituals and our history passed down from the first Pope, St. Peter, down all throughout history. So I think it'll be fun. Yeah, so Shelby, that'll be fun, right? If we have Shelby sit down with us tomorrow. We'll let you know. I don't even know what time it is. I'll double check and I can try to send you a link.
Sounds good.
That'll be fun. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us to this and our improv.
Sleep, everybody.
Yeah, have a good one, guys. See you tomorrow.
All right, ciao.
Bye.
Ave Maria, Maria, rogai por nós, Santa Mãe de